Good evening. Hey, you probably know both of our faces. We're 9/11 researchers, geopolitical researchers. I'm Adam Fitzgerald, and that's Darin Harvey. Hey, Darin, what's up?
Hey Adam, how you doing?
Hey, well, this is going to be a special video. This video is actually going to be addressed to one person. It's Gene Laratonda from the 9/11 War Room. Everybody knows who Gene Laratonda is. The guy's everywhere. He's active. We want to address a special message to him. And what I'm going to do is Darin is going to lead us off, and then I'm going to make my own message to him, and we'll take it from there.
Sounds
Darin?
good. Yeah, just me and Gene have a pass, not agreeing with each other. We got in a little spat there on Twitter where he ended up blocking me and you. We had a discussion about something he posted about the Flight 77 not hitting the Pentagon and some kind of conspiracy there. So we kind of point out the fact to him that, if you keep espousing these theories, it's hard to take you serious because he wants us to support his, with the lawyers committee having that, trying to get the grand jury to listen to them. And he kind of gets on us saying, you guys don't support this and that. And we try to tell him, like, well, it'd be great if you are heard, but you got to think about the people who are involved. You got Barbara Honecker, Jane Clark, and even Richard Gage. These are no-planers. And, I know Gene, and when we had that discussion in the war room, they don't like to be called no-planers. They'd like almost take offense to it. Well, my thing is, well, if you don't believe a plane or Flight 77 crashed in the Pentagon, you're a no-planer. So I don't get that part there either. So what I'm trying to say to Gene is basically, if you want us to support us, if you want us to support you, you're going to have to take that next step. Okay. You believe Flight 175 and Flight 11 hit the towers, but you don't believe Flight 77 hit the Pentagon or even Flight 93 crashed into Shanksville. You even doubt hijackers even exist. You see what I'm saying here? This is why you get that no-planer notion. And I know you don't like it, but, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah,
you
right.
know?
Yeah.
So we had a little discussion on Twitter about it. He ended up blocking me and you. He kicked me out of the Big Truth Movement group in Facebook, which has about 40,000 people. I was actually having some good discussions with people on there. As soon as he blocked me on Twitter, I went to Facebook and I was no longer a member there. So my thing to Gene was, I sent him a message saying, you need to stop censoring and blocking, kicking me out of stuff, because there was no reason to kick me out of that group. He's using this little power trip like he's a moderator there. And if we don't agree with him, he just blocks you and kicks you out of a group. And I don't get that. And that's my biggest thing with him is one time he'll apologize to you saying, hey, I'm sorry. And then the next day he's just yelling and screaming at you in capital letters in a messenger, like I'm a child. And that's my problem with him. I'm not here to rip Gene because I know he's put his heart and soul into the movement. He's donated a lot of money. He's done a lot of activism, but he's not bringing anything new to the table. It's the same thing over and over again. Controlled demolition and Building 7. And there's so much more about 9/11 than controlled demolition and Building 7, So that's the biggest issue that me and Gene have is like, if we don't support him and some of the kooky conspiracies, like with Honecker and Gage and Jane Clark, he calls us worthless. He called us bullies. He told us to lick each other's privates. He called us mother effers. I don't get it, and for him to go on his show, the War Room, and praying and all that stuff and talk about, hey, we need to be nice to each other, don't get volatile and all that stuff. Yeah, he goes on Twitter and does a total opposite. So that's a big problem with me. I that's just something I wanted to discuss with him. Is why is it so different on your show? Then you go on social media and you act the total opposite. and I trust me, I've been in calls with you where you apologize, saying, "Oh, we love you. I love you guys. You guys are awesome." And then the next day is something we don't agree on. It's name calling. It's kicking us out of groups, blocking us. I just don't get it. So that's kind of like my thing to Gene is, hey, like we want the same thing. We want to help hold people accountable. We want to find people who were involved with 9/11 and get justice, you know. But it's hard to do that when you basically support people who are no planers. You're not going to get anywhere in 9/11 justice if you don't believe planes, especially hit the Pentagon, Shanksville. You don't believe in hijackers, because to me that's so disrespectful, especially to the victims and their families. They deserve justice. They deserve closure. They're not going to get that if you have people like Honecker and Clark and Gage and, you know, for the lawyers committee trying to be heard by a grand jury. They're not being heard yet, as far as I know. Trying to be heard by a grand jury and get a new investigation and try to figure out what's, you know, who was behind 9/11. You're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be laughed out of court. So yeah, Gene, I want to support you, but I'm sorry, I cannot align myself with people who are no planers. I can't do it. That would go against everything that I stand for regarding 9/11, you know, and what I talk about with writing articles and doing YouTube and, you know, just talking to you and Nelson Martins and Sean Russell, Ed Brotherton, all those. We talk about this a lot. We'll do a Zoom together for 4 hours and we'll discuss 9/11, try to piggyback ideas off each other. And you know, if I want to support people who are no planers, I'd be a hypocrite, and I don't want to be known as a hypocrite. My goal as a geopolitical researcher is to find the truth as best I can, as honestly as I can, to, you know, provide truth and facts, not speculation. Speculation does nothing. doesn't do anything in the court system. It does nothing. Okay. My whole point is, and part of 9/11 is to get the truth and the facts. And there's plenty. People say, well, I've had people today on Twitter saying, oh, 9/11, it's basically, you know, we were lied to, and this, like, yeah, I get we're lied to, but no one's held accountable yet. You know, we have all these state sponsorships with Saudi Arabia. Nobody talks about that. We just had new declassified information. Is Gene talking about that? No. What are we talking about? Controlled demolition. You know, that doesn't get justice for the families. Sorry. We have amazing information out there regarding hijackers and terrorism and the intelligence agencies such as the CIA, the FBI, NSA, where they messed up big time. Okay. We have people, we have names, we have faces that we can hold accountable. So that's why I'm trying to point to Gene is like, I'm not against you, but I'm not with you either, because you're not taking that next step in acknowledging that Flight 77 hit the Pentagon or Flight 93 crashed into Shanksville. I can't do it. So there's my little rant about Gene.
No, hey, listen, I'm just all those points that you raised here with Gene is something that's I've thought about as well. And you know, I'll just add my 2 cents on that because you just about said everything that I'm in agreement with. No, but I'll add just a little bit to Gene. Gene, you know, I knew you a little bit longer than Darin. Known you, you know, back in, you know, 6 years ago when you were outside Ground Zero. And this is before I even had my hip surgeries. I went down there and met you and interviewed you down there. And I knew what you were about. You know, I even had, like, when people were in our circle, people didn't want to commiserate with you. I had a soft spot for you. I still do, even after all this, that you blocked me on Twitter and, you know, called me, you know, names or whatever. I don't care about that because I'm guilty of that too. But Gene, we're talking about progress here. And it's the lack of progress that's been going on. I mean, Gene, I love your attitude regarding activism. I think you're the most active person I've ever knew. you and John Gold. But I think your activism is misplaced, and I'll tell you why. Is that because I think at this point you should know, 21 years later, that the very few people that are left in the truth movement who are still propagating these infantile theories like, swaps and drone planes and, hijackers, fake phone calls, no hijackers these planes. Gene, that's not progress. And the reason why it's not progress is because we're in the year 2022 and you've gotten nowhere. Even with all these theories that are bounded. These are not new theories either. These are old theories that have been propagated by Thierry Meyssan back in 2001, in the fall of 2001. God's sakes, Jim Fetzer and Alex Jones. And then all of a sudden, then we had Dave Von Kleist with his film in Plain Sight. And then shortly thereafter, Loose Change, which was the most, and still, unfortunately, the most popular film in all of 9/11. What did they propagate? They propagated the theories that these planes were not hijacked, or that they were, and they were swapped, but they didn't crash into the Pentagon in Shanksville. Now, Jason Bermas earlier this year went on Reed Coverdale's show and said something that I didn't know about him, was that he thinks 11 and 175 are actually drone airliners. Mm-hmm. I never knew that about him.
I didn't either.
I didn't know.
I thought he believed they crashed into the Trade Center.
So did I. I didn't know that until this year. So it's illuminating to see. I mean, these propagating theories that have been abound for 20 years. You would think that if anybody was inside the FAA or the NTSB or the first responders in New York and Pennsylvania and Washington, you would think that all these people would either have to be coerced, lying, or manipulated, part of the system. And on top of that, they're part of this grand scheme of a lie. You have to have agents monitoring those people in order to make sure that they're going with the lie. So you're involving thousands of people at this point in over 20 years, and we haven't had one whistleblower say, hey, by the way, those aren't the real planes. I don't know what to tell you, Gene, at this point. But the very people that you support, that Darin brought up, Barbara Honegger is a major reason. Jane Clark is part of the board, and I think she's the one who brought Barbara Honegger on board the Lawyers Committee. Could be mistaken.
That's correct.
You got Richard Gage out of nowhere, steps out of his comfort zone of architects and engineers, and now thinks he's an expert in geopolitics. And look who he's interviewing. The very people who have hurt the truth movement for the last 20 years. Dave Von Kleist, Scott Bennett, Thierry Meyssan, and then, of course, the debate, the big so-called debate this year, 10 hours. And you had 4 stories, 3 of them from Thierry Meyssan, Barbara Honegger, and Craig McKee. McKee, Gene, he doesn't even have any work whatsoever. His whole blog is just one big sausage fest that basically insults David Chandler, Wayne Costy, the very people you claim to support at the World Trade Center. But at the same time, Gene, it's hypocritical. And I'll tell you why. Is that you respect David Chandler, Wayne Costy's work at the World Trade Center, and you don't even question it. However, their work at the Pentagon, not only do I not believe it, but I question it. So, Gene, come on. I brought this up to you a long time ago about that, right? It's not feasible, right? It's hypocritical, Gene. Let's call it for what it is. You can't basically say they got it so right at the World Trade Center, but they're so wrong at the Pentagon. I mean, look, think of it like this. What is more evident? That there were bombs placed in the World Trade Center? Okay, let's go with this argument. There were bombs in the World Trade Center. Who saw a bomb? Physically saw a bomb. Hearing an explosion is not the same as hearing a bomb going off. Now, granted, I don't talk about the physics because, first of all, I'm not qualified to talk about this. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a demolition expert. I'm not even a layman in these topics. So by default, my opinion means nothing. I don't hold weight. But my opinion is, I think there were detonations at the basement levels. What do I know, right? My expertise and my study is in the geopolitics, the deeper issues, right? Pre 9/11 and post 9/11. But pre 9/11 is where it's at. But as for the physics, talk to David Chandler, talk to Wayne Cobb. They're the experts. They're the engineers. That's who you talk to. But as for me, I don't know. But it's amazing that you'll respect their work at the World Trade Center, but not their work at the Pentagon. Who, by the way, everybody outside of Arlington who were there at September 11, 2001, who physically saw A Boeing plane? How do you mistake that for anything? Can't mistake it for a spoon or a cookie. I mean, it's a huge plane. It basically crashed into the Pentagon. And then you had this 10-hour conference with Craig McKee and Adam Ruffer saying the plane flew over the Pentagon. Barbara Honegger is saying the plane crashed into the heliport. Thierry Mason basically said it was a missile shot from a naval warship off the Atlantic. Meanwhile, David Chandler and Wayne Cossey were the only ones that showed you graphs and information and technical data, data that you could actually work on, right? Tangible evidence. And you basically say, I still don't have a position, but yet you have a position at the World Trade Center?
That's the thing, Adam. That's the thing that bugs me, is because they'll say, oh, there's firefighters that heard explosions.
Yeah.
Okay, you're going by eyewitnesses, right? Well, we have 86 that saw American Airlines crash into the Pentagon, but that's not good enough. We have ample plane debris. If you go to my YouTube, I have a playlist of an actual video of first responders inside the Pentagon with plane debris. It says American Airlines on it. So what are you going to tell me? They were planted? What evidence you got of that? That's the problem I have, is because we have witnesses, eyewitnesses, many of them, plane debris, DNA from the passengers. We got ample evidence of Flight 77 hitting the Pentagon. Okay. We even have security footage of the hijackers going on the flight. And you can't say that's fake, because one of the passengers that passed away, Soper.
Maria Soper.
Soper, I'm sorry, yeah. Soper was there, and her family confirmed that was her with her pet cat, Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
He's
holding it in the red cargo holder.
Yeah. So there's just overwhelming evidence that a plane hit the Pentagon. Nobody saw a missile. Nobody saw plane flying over. No one saw drone, whatever. They saw American Airlines, and there's debris that shows it was American Airlines. It just doesn't make any sense. Why would you support Chandler's work, but you won't support him at the Pentagon, where I think he has the most evidence of all?
Sure.
I think that's his work there is brilliant. And for you not to have a stance is mind-boggling to me.
I think it's stunning. And not only that,
it is stunning. That's a good word.
Yeah, I think not only that is that it's hypocritical. Like I said, I mean, if you're going to respect their work at the World Trade Center, how are they wrong at the Pentagon? Are they wrong at both? Are they right at one and right on wrong at the other? So right. What do you mean? What is the difference between the Pentagon and World Trade Center? Did they not apply the scientific method at the World Trade Center and they did at the Pentagon? God's sakes, I think you just brought up a great point just now. At least we have physical evidence of the plane at the Pentagon. I mean, we really don't have physical evidence of any bombs, but that's needless to say. I mean, we do have eyewitnesses that said they heard explosions, especially in the basement levels. All right. Now, and when like I said, I can't speak on how those towers, came down by that laws of whether it was an unnatural or natural collapse. Like I said, I really never studied this area. I wish I did. I regret there are times I really, because if somebody asked me a question, and I do get these people that say, hey, what's your position at the World Trade Center? I'm like, hey, dude, I'm going to just give you an opinion, but it's not based on anything. And I hate to say it because, I'm terrible at math. Okay.
It's hard. I'm a failure. It's really hard. We're not engineers. We're not demolition experts, but my stance on the Trade Center is always going to be this is, you had William Rodriguez that says there were explosions in the basement there. They tried it in 93. We have the UMS trucks, with trace of explosives in it. That's what I say. I can't be a hypocrite in saying, well, those eyewitnesses don't count. Was there bombs? Maybe, probably. But that's not my focus.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like I said, I'm not an expert in demolition or I'm not a structural engineer. What I can tell you is the geopolitical side of it, there's ample evidence that a plane hit the Pentagon, Shanksville crash, and then the flights 11 and 175 hit the World Trade Center. So I can definitely tell you that much. But like I said, I'm not an engineer to say, this is what brought down the towers, this and that. That's just not my position.
Right. And Gene, I know you and I talked to you and Sandra before about simplifying 9/11. I wish I could do it, brother. I wish I could do it. You know, if I could bring this camera to my hallway, I have like 103 books based on, you know, Middle East culture, religious fundamentalism, the study of Wahhabism, Israeli and American affairs, Saudi and Gulf affairs. God, the CIA and their operations, the NSA. God's sakes, Gene, I can't do it. I just can't do it. But not, you know, this is where, not, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back here, brother, but I'm telling you, Gene, you're going to have to put an enormous amount of more work in this area. Because if you're just going to live at the ground, if you're going to live at ground zero, what are you really telling the people? And if, by the way, if you're just going to propagate people's, other people's works, and you're just going to still back Barbara Honegger or, you know, Christopher Boland or somebody else, I mean, what kind of message are you sending? I mean, great activism. Shit, I wish more people would like you. It's the message, Gene. What message are you sending? Right? Talking about the Lawyers Committee that you brought this up, Darin. The Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Agree. This is the big reason why he blocked us, right? Yes. And Gene, I had this conversation with Sandra Hicks once. Okay, Sandra Hicks wanted me and Nelson to work with Barbara Honegger. I said, how can you expect us to work with Barbara Honegger when she's anti-ethical to the information, the evidence? And he basically didn't want to hear it. He thinks that everybody's kumbaya, we can all get into one area. No, that's not true, Gene. Okay, if somebody's propagating no planes or hijackers or swaps, they're going against the evidence. I know what they're going against. They're going against the official narrative, right? But I'm going to talk to you in a bit about why I think that's the biggest problem of all. I can't work with the Lawyers Committee. It's not Mick Harrison. I don't have a problem with him. I have a problem with Barbara Honegger. I have a problem with Jane Clark. And now I have a problem with Richard Gage. Because these are the people who are propagating the same theories, which are hurting who? Us? No, not necessarily. The truth movement. You're not getting anywhere. You're still waiting to be heard. You don't have a grand jury impaneled yet. Well, guess what? Guess who does? Creedley and Creedler does. Motley Rice does. And they've had one for the last 8-9 years. They're not having a problem. But I think your problem is this, Gene. Your problem is this, is that the official narrative has to be opposed at all costs. Yep. Right? The official narrative to you is, and to not just you, but to a majority of the truth movement, is that 4 planes were hijacked by 19 Islamic fundamentalists, and they crashed it into the World Trade Center, Pentagon, Shanksville. Right? But that's a microcosm of the official narrative, Gene. I've read the 9/11 Commission report. I have it uploaded on my playlist. In fact, I'm the only person in the world to upload it. Not only that, Gene, not only is it a microcosm of the 9/11 Commission report, it's a microcosm of the Joint House Inquiry report. It's a microcosm of the the FBI pen bomb report. So, Gene, there's so many investigations, pre and post, bigger than that. How come you're not talking about that? How come? You have to. For God's sakes. I mean, this is it. This is the whole case, the whole essence, right? So I think the problem is that you have a problem with hijackings because you've been told that it's been a part of the official narrative. Yes, it is. You know what? 9/11 Commission, some of it is true. Hey, the attacks took place on September 11, 2001. Says so in 9/11 Commission report. Guess what? That's true. Not everything is false. But not everything is true in the 9/11 Commission report, okay? There have been some manufactured stories written within the 14 chapters of the book. But the biggest takeaway, Gene, most of the information is missing. And that's what me and Darin and DJ Dumber Detonator, Ed Brotherton, and Sean Russell, and Robbie and Abby Martin, and John Gold, we're still trying to fill in those gaps. But it's very hard to do, Gene, when I get people who go on the internet still to this day and tell me that a plane didn't even hit the Pentagon or that it was a drone outfit to look like a plane. You know how big a drone is, by the way, Gene? The biggest drone in the world is 100 feet long, okay? A Boeing airline is 125 feet long. And not only that, if you're going to say that the planes were drones and outfit to look like the planes, all right, Gene, you have to show that everybody in American Airlines that was in the investigation of the 9/11 Commission and the FBI pen report, all those people were either lying, they were coerced, or they're just basically misinformed, right? You have to show evidence for that. You have to show evidence for that. And not only that, What about all the first responders who are in Washington and in Pennsylvania that were involved with the human remains and plane debris cleanup? What about all those people who basically were bagging the evidence, right? Now they have to be in on it. And not only that, Gene, what about with the passengers? What happened to them? Oh, I don't know. That's up for the government. That's what Craig McKee says. No. You make a position. You make a positive claim. You have to have positive evidence for it. Okay? That's the problem with these people, Gene. They don't have evidence for their theories. Neither Jason Burmis or Craig McKee or Bob Honegger. Heck, I've been trying to debate these people for years and they still won't do it. So, Gene, that's the only problem I have with you. Is basically you're behind and supporting the people who are hurting the truth movement.
Exactly.
I don't know what else to say.
Well, it just stinks when you align yourself with people like Craig McKee. And Craig McKee is not only notorious for his BS at the Pentagon and other things, but he's also doesn't believe anyone died at Sandy Hook.
Moon landing denier.
Moon landing denier. Why would you be associated with someone like that? So you're telling me that the families at Sandy Hook are all in on it. The whole community is in on this plot. Like, come on, dude. This is what I'm talking about. This is why people like Craig McKee get made fun of. That is absolutely stupid. It's disrespectful. It's absolutely. You imagine going there and saying, "Oh, your kid didn't die." What? Are you serious right now? But you're aligning yourself with those type of people.
Why would Richard Gage have Craig McKee and Adam Rupp as experts for what is it? Belief number 3, I think it was called at the conference. Why? First of all, here's my big beef with Richard Gage. If you're going to talk about what happened at the Pentagon, why didn't you interview anybody who was actually there? Right?
Exactly.
Why are you interviewing people who aren't there? Why? Well, if you're going to have somebody who is basically conspiring with these theories, right? That's one thing. But if you actually want to know what happened at the Pentagon, Gene Laratonda, why didn't Richard Gage invite, say, a person I've interviewed, James Schwartz, who's the incident commander at the Pentagon? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you invite Chris Combs, who's the lead FBI agent involved with the search and rescue at the Pentagon? Why didn't you invite someone from Fort Myer who was there? Like the first 3 guys who saw the plane come in, Alan Wallace and I forgot the other, Dennis Young, and I forgot the other guy's name. They were at the heliport, right?
And I just want to point coming in. Exactly. And I just want to point out too. And I just want to point out too that I told Richard Gage this on the WarRoom, and he's like, "Well, what? I need his information." Well, you got a hold of James Schwartz, and James Schwartz is like, "I'm not interviewing with him." Yeah. See what happens when you align yourself with kooky conspiracies and people like that. The real people who are there, they don't want to talk to you because they don't want to be associated with you.
Why would they?
You're guilty by association. Okay. And that's the thing I'm trying to point out to Gene is I think Gene deep down in his heart he wants to know what really happened. He wants to get to the bottom of it, wants to get justice. But man, when you associate yourself with some of the people he does, people don't take you serious. Nobody's going to take you serious.
Yeah, this is a great point. And look, I'm gonna hop on that one too. So, Gene, you know how I am with fringe conspiracy theorists. I'm very aggressive, okay? But if this is not evidence that we're trying to reach out to you, is that we think of you differently. This is a video for you. And I wouldn't care if you were nobody that I haven't known before. Because I like Darin says, I believe that you believe you're 100% into like finding out what happened at September 11th.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't have made this video. Point blank. If it was for Adam Rupp or Craig McKee, probably would be a video in much worse terms. Okay,
it'd be an odyssey.
Yeah, it'd be on Odyssey. It would be on Odyssey. Right, exactly.
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, this video is made to you because we really believe in you. And the thing is that you don't believe in us, and I can understand why. Because you know what, you're in quite you're in between a rock and a hard place, if you will. Okay. Because I think also if you don't want to be seen as an outcast, as we are regarding 9/11, if you suddenly come to the realization that hey, these planes were hijacked, And yeah, they crashed into the Shanksville and Pennsylvania areas because you're going to get the David Chandler treatment. And what I mean by that is, and you know full well what I mean, is that when they did that 5-hour video, when Wayne Costi did and David Chandler was narrating it, immediately after, David Chandler, who was the face of the truth movement, by the way, for years, suddenly became vilified. And he was ousted, okay? By who? Barbara Honecker, Greg McKee, and that cult, okay? And other people started chiming in, saying, oh, these aren't truthers. I mean, I got audio from, the 9/11 teleconference, deep state teleconferences, where they took a vote. And basically, it was like 19-1 against Wayne Costi ever coming back and talking about 9/11. And the one vote was, I think, David Chandler. I have the audio. And basically, Sheila Casey, who's part of that group of Craig McKee and Adam Seid and, those renegades and whatnot, they're not researchers, basically telling David Chandler he's not a truther. He's not a truther. And if she wants to hear about the official narrative, she'd read the 9/11 Commission report. She probably never read a book without pictures. But I'm just saying this, Gene, is that I think you're you probably think about that and say, I don't want to be ousted because you believe in this kumbaya that everybody's on the same page. Gene, we're not on the same page. We can't be on the same page. It's impossible. We come in from a analytical, technical, and physical data. We look at it as researchers, not hobbyists. Barbara Honecker is not a researcher. She's a hobbyist. That goes the same for Christopher Bolin, Rebecca Roth. I can name dozens of others. You know who they are, okay? I'm not promoting their work. I'm not supporting these people. I'm against them, okay? You have to be, you more so than us, because you are part of the truth movement. You are a huge face in the truth movement. People know who you are. But guess what, Gene? You're not going to be taken seriously, as Darin said, if you're going to propagate these theories. You're just not. And, you talk about WarRoom and activism. That's fine, Gene. What audience are you reaching? Are you going to go up to somebody and basically say, hey, by the way, I support the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 inquiry, and somebody looks into the Lawyers Committee and you look into the background of Barbara Honecker and they say, wow, she doesn't even believe a plane at the Pentagon or that there were hijackings. Why would I want to be siding with 9/11 Lawyers Committee? Exactly my point, Gene.
That's the point we're making.
Right, exactly my point.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, that's the thing with Honecker, though, is people don't realize she says she believes in hijackings, but her theory actually doesn't believe in hijackings because she believes the planes were swapped. So if there was a hijacking of Flight 75, which she believes, but she believes that plane was swapped, how's that a hijacking? It's not. So you need to explain, if that's your theory, you need to explain what happened to the hijackers and the passengers.
Right, you can't just get away. Right, I agree 100%. You can't just get away with saying that.
Don't give me that lazy. Ask the government. No. You're coming up with this crackpot theory. You need to explain your evidence.
Right.
Okay. And a lot of them I heard is, they're flown out to the ocean and their bodies are dumped in the, they're dumped in the water and this and that. It's like, you need proof. Like that's crazy. Can
you imagine going to court, Darin? Imagine going to court and saying, Your Honor, the planes actually were swapped, and what happened after? The judge said, hey, what happened after that? Well, we think that the plane landed in the ocean, killing everybody. Can you imagine what the judge would actually say? It would be just like what happened with April Gallup in 2011, when she went and said, oh, by the way, I'm going to have a second lawsuit where I'm suing Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Myers, and also American Airlines and Osama bin Laden. And basically say to the judge, well, her lawyers did, that a plane didn't crash into the Pentagon. Meanwhile, why is she suing American Airlines? Well, according to her, and I could provide the article for you if you want, Gene, she basically said, because if the other theories are true, I'm a victim, and that makes me somebody who can receive compensation for it, and I have to do it for my son. Do you know what the judge basically did? A rare instance in law history. He threw out the case saying, citing frivolous lawsuit. And not only that, he fined all three of the lawyers, I think $5,000 or $15,000 each or something like that for bringing up such a ridiculous case. Do you know what would happen if the Lawyers Committee actually went to court and they allowed Barbara Honecker's points to be heard? The exact same thing. No matter if you had evidence of showing World Trade Centers were coming down by demolition, even if you showed evidence for that, be above and beyond. You have empirical evidence for it. No matter what, as long as you have Barbara Honegger on there and she's talking about these things along with Jane Clark and now Richard Gage, mortivity sciato. You know what that means? It's over. It's over. Finished. And Gene, now think of the long run, right? Anybody else who convenes their own grand jury in the future will always be grouped with these people saying, oh, they're probably fanatics.
So you're never going to get anywhere.
Never.
Never.
Never
it's
going to
be a waste of
seriously again.
It'll be a waste of money.
Yep.
You're just wasting money.
So you don't realize the damage that's happening in the future.
That's the whole point of bringing this up is the truth movement's already been saturated with poison. It's dead basically. And you're just going to make it basic to the point where you will never, ever be heard again if you continue to support these people. So you have to.
Yeah. I mean, look, Darin froze up a bit there, but yeah, this is my problem. I mean, it's my problem with, Gene and them is that, Gene, we care. I mean, we care. And, we're not against you. Like Darin said, we're not against you. We believe in your cause, but the message is what we have a beef with. That's the only thing. But you cut out before. What were you saying?
Yeah, sorry. It said my connection was on. Where was I at? Was I talking about?
Yeah, you were talking about, the issue of supporting like these, for instance, in court.
Yeah, exactly. It's the truth movement, like I said, it's already saturated with poison, and it's going to get to the point where you'll never ever be heard again. So, you only got so many chances to be heard in court, and if you continue to align yourself with people like Honegger and the people we mentioned before, Craig McKee, Richard Gage, I'm telling you, it's going to be bad, and it's going to be the point where we're never going to be heard again. Right. And it's because of people like this.
Yeah, I can't, I sound like a broken record to you, Gene, is that I can't get behind somebody who actually doesn't have evidence for their theories. I mean, why would I want to be behind that? If you look, we both can agree. I think everybody here can agree. We want to go to court. We want to start holding people responsible for certain things. Absolutely. But it's hard to do when you have still people propagating these theories and getting in the way of that. I mean, we're trying to dispel these theories that the previous people in the truth movement who are still active in the truth movement, propagating these theories, creating more disinformation for the future. It's hard to do. You want to talk about activism and trying to reach people. Great. I'm with you there. But guess what? The same people who are propagating these theories, reaching those people, we're going to have a problem 10, 15 years down the line again. So look, if you're going to talk about activism and opening up truth booths and stuff like that, Gene, what are you presenting as the message? 9/11's an inside job. Did you know a third building fell? Whoopie-doo, Gene. There's more to it than ground zero. I mean, we've been trying to tell you this for years, but this is something that you probably, just don't have any interest in because it's too hard to understand. All right, I'll get with you on that. If you want us to explain that and be a part of helping you, I have no problem doing it. But I can't get behind you if you're still supporting Barbara Honegger and Richard Gage. I'm not doing it. And I'm not doing it because I can't. I think what Darin said before was even best. We're thinking about the victims' families here. And if you're going to say that, by the way, nobody died at Flight 77, all those pastors, we don't know what happened. Meanwhile, they've recovered their remains at the Pentagon, and you're saying that's a lie, right? God's sakes, what a spit in the face. What a spit in the face.
That's the thing I heard. Yeah.
Really? I mean, come on, that's hypocritical, man. I mean, if you're going to believe that people died at the World Trade Center, but not give the same respect at the Pentagon in Shanksville because you can't get behind plane hijackings, Gene, what are you doing here? I mean, God's sakes.
Exactly, Adam. And being in the medical field and seeing people die in front of me, it hits home because it's like telling people, the families on Flight 77, oh, they didn't die. They didn't die heroes. It's like Flight 93 is the one that gets me the most because they did fight against them. Right. And there's absolute evidence for that by the phone calls. And no, I'm not talking about cell phone calls. I'm talking about Todd Beamer's call was on a GTE Verizon Airphone. He talked to Lisa Jefferson. And so if you don't believe that happened, so you're believing Lisa Jefferson was in on it, and also Verizon, the phone company. Like, see how stupid that sounds? It's absolutely stupid. Okay. There was people from Verizon around Lisa Jefferson that also heard. So you get all the employees from Verizon, Lisa Jefferson talking to Todd Beamer, and he's, talking about Todd Beamer knew he was going to die. I'm pretty positive that he knew he was probably going to die, but he's like, you know what? We're going to try to stop this from crashing somewhere it kills more people.
Yeah. Those
were heroes on that plane, absolute heroes. And here we're talking about the phone calls are fake. It's egregious, absolutely egregious. You tell Todd Beamer's father, who has a part of his watch, he keeps as a memory of him. You tell him that his son's not a hero. You tell Todd Beamer's wife he wasn't a hero. Mark Bingham's mom, who actually passed away. You tell her mom, his mom, that he wasn't a hero. No, there were no heroes on that plane. They're all fake. Well, screw you. That's how I view it. And the truthers use the same thing. The phone calls are fake. The phone calls are fake. Cell phones can't make. Well, I think 90% of the phone calls were from airphones. And I think you get the exact number of cell phone calls were made. Same thing with Barbara Olson. You had a great video about Barbara Olson. Yeah, her one call was from a cell phone. It was 0 seconds. But then she made 4 other calls using an airphone because she had to pay for it from her credit card charges. So to say those are fake and those didn't happen, that's a huge problem I have with the Truth Movement. Because anytime I post something on Facebook about Flight 93 phone calls, the majority of answers I get, Adam, actors. That's what we're dealing with. Actors, not heroes, not real people. They were actors. Or we got the voice morphing system, which has been debunked. You have that. You did a great video on that.
Dr. George Bapgun, the founder
exactly.
of voice morphing.
Yeah. The guy who created it. He's telling you it worked.
Basically, yeah.
There's a great video that you just posted on YouTube about people who question Mark Bingham's phone call.
Yeah.
And then they actually met with his mother, Alice, and they were in tears because they got to see it face to face, what she was explaining and how she felt. And they're like, yeah, that was a real phone call. And these were conspiracy people, but they got to see it firsthand, the heartfelt message his mother had, and they were all in tears.
They also met Dr. George Papkin and showed him how it wasn't possible.
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't possible
back then.
So we have to stop these narratives of actors or crisis actors and fake phone calls. It gets you absolutely nowhere. Hence why it's 21 years and we're having a discussion about the Pentagon and if a missile hit or, SWAT planes. This is why the Truth Movement is dead. And people hate to hear that. But you know what? Here's a famous saying, right? A famous saying, the truth hurts sometimes. It definitely hurts.
Yeah, it does. Look, I brought up that question to Richard Gage once, and he answered it. Basically, that the Truth Movement doesn't pertain to hijackers or hijackings. Well, who made him the authority about that? Right?
They were irrelevant.
This is one area that he's not in, that he hasn't studied in. And this is the problem. What I have with these people that you support, Gene, is that these are the very people who are hurting you and your Truth Movement and your activism by propagating these theories. And I'm told that in another month or so that they're going to have a Shanksville conference. Well, who are they inviting for that, Gene? Are they going to invite Art Olivier? Are they going to invite, Christopher Bolin? Are they going to invite, even worse off, Steve Diak, who thinks that the smoke at the Shanksville was a smoke machine in the ground? I don't know what to tell you.
It's going to be.
Guess what? He's not. Is he going to, or is he going to interview anybody who was actually there? He's not going to invite.
Well, unfortunately, they can't interview Wally Miller no more because he's sick of the crackpots.
Yeah, right.
He won't deal with them.
Yeah,
he was a coroner there. Yeah. Because Loose Change twisted his words, and he's done. A lot of these people who were there that could give us a lot of answers don't do it no more because they're sick of the lies. They're sick of their words being twisted, and they won't deal with it no more.
That's what he told me in email.
Yeah,
I try to reach out to some people, and they just don't want to be affiliated with 9/11 anymore because of these fringe
I
conspiracies.
don't blame him.
Unfortunately, one great researcher in his own right and author of Disconnecting the Dots, Kevin Fenton, who I
Yep.
reached out by email because of you, Darin. Shockingly, he responded back and says that he's had enough of 9/11. And I asked him, I said, "Is it anything to do with the fringe conspiracy theories that were prime in your years?" And he didn't answer me back. But I get the premonition that not just him, but Paul Thompson of the Terror Timeline and others basically just got fed up because of all these fringe conspiracy theorists that just came out between the years 2006 to 2012 and just dominated the truth movement and dragged all the conversation right in the stewards in the
What a
street.
shame. What
And
a
it
shame.
is a shame because we could use those people.
Paul Thompson's book, like I've talked about before in one of my videos, the Terror Timeline is the Bible 9/11, and it's a shame that he doesn't, and he doesn't do it anymore because of the kooky conspiracies. And I got that from a source that's close to him, and he just won't do it no more. And I honestly can't blame him.
I can't blame him, and I can't. But Gene, that's the message. I mean, I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I think I've said enough. But Gene, yeah, look, I like you. I still do, even if you block me and stuff like that. But you can't. Darin brought this up before. You can't basically just meet us face to face and apologize and stuff like that. You're gonna have to mean it. I mean, yeah, you can't throw your faith and say that you're forgiven all the time. You just can't bear fruit that way. And saying that we look each other's polls and stuff online, and we're liking each other's posts and stuff. I'm like, Gene, no, don't go down this road. If you disagree with us and think that we should be getting behind certain people, yeah, let's have that conversation. But basically, just going off on a rant and blocking us isn't proving anything right on your side. And I think, we're doing a more honorable job in reaching out to you than you are to us, because this video is proof. And if you decide not to, that's fine too. But we just want to make you realize where we're coming from regarding you.
Exactly. I don't hold no ill will against Gene. I do.
No.
I firmly believe he has good intentions. I don't think he's a fraud or a fake or anything like that. I really believe. We had a Zoom with him a few weeks ago. He was on for maybe 10 minutes, and he basically said that this is my life. I'm doing this the day I die, type of thing. So you could tell it's important to him, and I can respect that. I really can. I just want him to realize is we're not always going to agree on things, and especially like I'll give you instance like Building 7. We won't agree on it, and I agree not to talk about it. Okay, I don't want to talk about Building 7, and that's fine. We don't have to talk about it. It doesn't mean that we can't work together or not respect each other. So that's my message to him. I just if we disagree on something, just don't run and kick me out of a group. I don't
know why he would do that to you.
I don't know either. It stinks because I said, I was having some conversations with some people who had some questioning about that voice morphing system and about Mark Bingham's mom.
Yeah.
Because people question the phone call, like, oh, he said, "Hi, Mom, this is Mark Bingham." People are like, you don't say that. And she gives an explanation why he does. And the actual guy on the site actually had a legitimate question. I wanted to provide that answer to him. Unfortunately, I got kicked out and I couldn't provide that answer for him. So there's still people there to reach and to talk to, and unfortunately, right now I am not able to do that. So, I just want him to know it's like I have good intentions. I'm not, my intentions to do this video with you was not to rip on Gene or dog him. It's to show him like, hey, we do have something in common, and we want the truth, and we want to hold people accountable, so we can build on that.
Yeah, you know what? And I'll end it like that. So, Gene, now it's up to you. You can decide to watch this video and ignore us, or you could still reach out to us. And like Darin said, we hold no ill will towards you anyway, no matter what. So the past is always forgiven, right? and that's what Christianity is about, right? That's what Christ would want you to do. Like I could speak on his behalf. Anyway, Gene, good night, buddy. Hopefully, we will hear from you soon.